Hello and welcome to this week's angling vlog. This week you join me back on the banks of the beautiful River Severn. As you've seen at the start of the video, it's been a nice journey down the A49. We've arrived, loaded up the barrow, and you join us on the banks of Atcham. We're going to take a closer look at the river in a minute, but you do join me about 3:30 on the banks of the River Severn. We've made the journey down and the plan is to fish into dark till about 11-12 o'clock, and hopefully in that time we'll get a barbel. As you can see behind me, you can see the river is really low and clear. Regulars who fish this stretch will probably agree with me that they've never really seen it as low as it has been this year. The streamer weed has returned, and that does make a huge difference to this river. It gives us barbel cover and protection, and hopefully there's one or two about. So what we'll do now is take a look at the swim, the baits, and how we're going to approach it. So we've got the two rods in place, and we've got the rods in nice and early, getting that bait going through the swim nice and early. The plan of attack, I'm going to have one rod, both on feeders, 3/4 of the way across, just where that dark water is there. And the other rod is going just down here, about 1/3 of the way over. Been casting a couple of times with just a bare hook and a lead. Not really been getting stuck, so I found a nice little clear area on that rod. The far bank rod a little bit more difficult, because obviously you're free casting, so you're not clipped up, so you never truly hit the same patch of river at the same time. But when I've been casting the bopper out there, it hasn't been getting stuck and the feed has been coming back clear. So yeah, that's how we're going to approach it. Hopefully we'll get a barbel. As I always say, the target is one and anything more is a bonus. Conditions wise, it's low and clear and bright skies. I'm hoping for some more cloud. Realistically looking at it, I would say you're looking at, you know, going into dark for the bite, but you never know. The fish have got to be somewhere in the river, and with this much streamer, that will give them cover. Let's take a quick look at the bait and how we're going to feed both swims. Now, people who follow the channel regular for barbel know I'm a great lover of hemp and a believer in how good it is for barbel. You know, you can't put too much in, and for me personally, I like to feed a lot of hemp. You can see you've got a good bucket there, and at the start on that inside line we put about 5 or 10 pouches of the hemp using the catapult. Gives you a nice little bed down there, you know, in them hours before dark, just to lay that bed of feed, and hopefully, if you're lucky, attract the barbel in, but get that bed down for later on. Now, the far bank line, for those who have followed the blog for a long time at Atcham, you know that I normally just put hemp in the feeder, but like I said in other blogs, I'm going to be using this on here, the korum bopper, and you can see there, just allows you to feed hemp on that far bank line in quantity that I've never been able to do before, just with the feeder. In the feeder, we've got some of the small pellets from hinders, and we're going to be plugging the feeder with the barbel bomb ground bait. Now, as you can see on screen now, cut up some of the luncheon meat and mixed it into this ground bait. What that gives you is a good mix of baits and sizes. You've got the smell of the ground bait, the small pellets, the little bits of hemp in there, and then you've got the bits of meat as well. So yeah, you've just got that little bit of different size food items just going through the swim. So for those interested in the bopper, there is a bigger one than this version. I'm using the smaller one, and to cast it out there, I'm using a 10-foot XTND rod, and I've got 15-pound line on one of the reels. So setup wise, I've got my Excalibur rods, 1.75-pound test curve. On there, I've got the Zelos reel and 12-pound barbel line. So down to the business end, got a bolt and run kit and one of the cage feeders from Korum. You can see in there, got the pellets, the ground bait plug in it. Got quite a long hook link, and that is down to a tiny size 14 hook, the grappler, a band with a pellet on. It's very rare on the River Severn that you haven't got foliage behind you, so just tucking the pellet into the bottom of the feeder just makes it easier to cast. You're not going to get stuck on the branches behind you. And then when it hits the river, obviously it comes out with the ground bait and then goes downstream. So the beauty of using those pellets, the smaller pellet on the hook and the size 14 hook, you got a chance of catching everything, and that's a lovely roach. And so you've got to be getting on for what, 10 ounces to a pound. But yeah, let's get him straight back and get the rod back out. One thing for sure, the nights are definitely drawing in. It's 5 to 8 and this camera's obviously picking up all the light. The rod tip's just constantly twitching away, just waiting for that proper 3-foot twitch of a barbel. You can definitely feel the nip in the air and the change is starting to happen. So it's taken until pitch black, as you can see, but eventually the rod has hooped over. You can see we've got the night lights on and hopefully we're connected with a barbel. Just holding out there in the flow at the moment. Nice bend in the rod. Just giving him a good rest before we get him out and take a look at him. The first barbel of the session, coming about 9:15, so we've had to wait for it. And yeah, one of my mates, Gary, if you're watching, definitely worked, mate. And we'll get this beautiful barbel straight back, won't keep it out too long, and hopefully in the hours to come we can get 1 or 2 more. We just had a bit of a disaster when it's hard going, just lost one. Wasn't on too long, probably 5 or 10 seconds again on the right hand rod. And yeah, when bites are at a premium, when you've worked hard for them, it's never good when you lose one. But the rod's back out and fingers crossed it goes again. The weirdest take ever. The rod hooped over and then was just solid, like literally as if it was in a snag. And just let out a bit of slack and I felt one bang and we're connected with a fish. So when I say, you know, keep at it and effort will equal reward, we've got 1 barbel in the net and looks like a nice one. The left hand rod, literally as soon as we got it in the net, has screamed off. Just seen there, got a quick shot of when I unhooked them both, just to get them in the edge to rest and not get tangled on the lines. The first one that will hold up is barbel number 3, easily recognisable because it's got a bit of a kink in its tail. But yeah, effort really has paid off. As soon as dark's come, you know, the bites have come, haven't they? So this barbel did the best impression of a snag I've ever seen of any fish. It was solid, let the pressure go and I felt a kick. Just going 8.5 pound. It's got the length of a double, most definitely, just hasn't got the depth. So yeah, well worth the effort coming out. One thing about night fishing on the Severn, I've always found, you had all the creatures in the undergrowth behind you, but everywhere else, if you make a bit of noise, they generally scarper, but not on the River Severn. They seem to just stay where they are and carry on rooting, and that is part of the magic of night fishing. We're coming up to 11 o'clock now. The rods are back out. Just stood watching those isotopes, and the bats just coming in and out, knocking the lines, but you can't mistake them for the proper take. Just beautiful being out here, eerie, quiet, just a beautiful place to spend some time. And there we go, what a beautiful fish to end the session on. The first couple come in a space of a probably 40-minute spell. We've waited probably the same time again. There's about 20 minutes of the session left, and this is the second one going over £8. Beautiful fish, great fight in the dark, and well worth that effort coming down to the beautiful River Severn. I want to wish you all tight lines in your own fishing, and me and this barbel will catch it all next week. Tight lines.